All right, well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Everything You Need to Know About Marketing. My name is Dan Scheinen. I will be the moderator. I'm a marketing professor here at the College of Business. We are very pleased and privileged to have four tremendous speakers with us this morning. And just as a first very brief task for students, Christine is going to put a poll up, and if you could just take literally 30 seconds to just answer a couple of just basic questions about your class standing and major, we would very much appreciate that. And so otherwise, we're going to begin promptly. We have each speaker will have about 10 to 12 minutes or so to talk a little bit about themselves, their careers in marketing, how they got there, perhaps a little bit about some challenging decisions that they've needed to make lately. And then we'll have hopefully about 15 minutes at the end for you to answer questions, for you to ask questions of any or all of the speakers. Okay, so we'll just go in the order on the slide. And so let's begin with Ian.
All right, no pressure, starting things off. Well, good morning, everybody. Thanks so much for having me. I can tell you I won't take, or don't expect to take, my 10 to 12 minutes because I'd love to hear some of your questions and what's important to you guys. But my name is Ian Harney. I graduated in 2009 with a degree in entrepreneurial management. And I used to really enjoy participating in this event when I was living on the East Coast, and I live now in Portland, Oregon. So side note, no excuses for yawning because it's 5:30 in the morning here. So wake up and get going. But I haven't been able to get back to campus in quite a few years now. So very happy to get to participate in this and meet you all this morning. So just, I guess, a little bit of background on me. When I graduated, I had a degree in entrepreneurial management. And I thought I wanted to run my own business. I still would love to one day, but I never really imagined that my path to get there would be through a large corporate environment. And I went on a bunch of job interviews, and in particular, I applied for a job solely to get experience interviewing. Never thought I would get the job, didn't feel qualified for it. And it was some of my experiences on campus that piqued the interest of the hiring manager and ultimately led them to take a chance on me. And that was my first role at Stanley Black & Decker in a job called product management, which at the time I had no idea what that was. And I don't know how you guys feel, but I can tell you when I was coming out of school, I didn't really know what jobs were. I knew marketing, finance, accounting, the things you can major in. I didn't really know what jobs in those fields were other than the obvious ones, like being an accountant. Is relatively obvious, but as far as marketing and management roles, you know, I didn't really know what they were, and so I'll talk a little bit for you guys about the different types of jobs within marketing that I've had over the last 10 years or so, because that's certainly been one of the big learnings for me, is that marketing can mean something different in a lot of different companies, and depending on who you're talking to and what environment you're working in. And so, you know, you should go in with an open mind, and if there's something specific that you know you really like, you should make sure that you're finding those types of jobs, because, you know, generically or broadly, marketing can have a lot of different definitions. So I've never really thought of myself as somebody who excels at what I consider traditional marketing activities, you know, lead generation, publicity, building awareness, things like that. It's not where I consider my strengths to be. So I find it ironic that I'm making a career in the marketing space, and I've just tried to surround myself with people who are better at it than me, frankly. But where I do enjoy my time is in the strategic side, and business strategy and product strategy, and researching with customers and end users and learning how to listen to their pain points and frustrations and what resonates with them as a target audience and things like that. And so that's the part of marketing that I've been able to kind of sink my teeth into, and get a lot of fulfillment out of and enjoy over the last few years. So as I mentioned, I started in product management, and primarily focused on new product development. I was working in the hand tools division of Stanley Black & Decker, which is kind of the part of the business that a lot of people know, tape measures and hammers and things like that. And you can imagine the challenge around innovating a hammer. It's kind of one of the oldest tools in the world if you think about a rock and a stick. So 2,000, 3,000 years later, trying to come up with a new exciting hammer is not the easiest task, but it's, you got to start somewhere. So I started there, and I moved through power tools, which is a little more exciting. And now I get to work on construction equipment, large attachments that go on excavators and wheel loaders and some of the biggest products that we sell. So that's pretty cool and exciting, kind of a fun work environment there. But I moved through product management for a while, and then eventually decided that I had done that for 5 or 6 years and gotten pretty well versed in it, and I wanted to broaden my horizons. And that's when I came out here to the West Coast and took on a role in a smaller division of ours and got exposure to some other elements of marketing. One being channel marketing, as we call it, or commercial marketing, which is really the management of pricing, customer programs, promotions, the things you would see in on an end cap in a home center or in a flyer, advertisements, things like that, for specific incentives to purchase, and things to drive revenue and drive volume. So that strategy and managing how you do that when you have a distribution pool of customers that compete with each other, and how you don't rock the boat too much in one direction or another, and keep everybody supporting you equally, was a whole different way of marketing strategy for me to think. And then the third element that I've gotten to work through is what I consider a little bit more of traditional marketing, the brand marketing side of things, brand strategy, lead generation, which is now very heavily focused on digital marketing, of course, in the current environment. And you can imagine, heavy construction equipment is not the type of product that you can ship samples around the world and throw 10 of them in your truck and drive around and show customers. So we used to rely very heavily on event marketing, trade shows, demo days, kind of classic in-person, kick the tires, marketing activities. We've had to evolve to webinars, 3D interactive models online, things to help people feel comfortable purchasing a product that they can't touch and feel. And that's maybe, as much as that trend has advanced in consumer products, it's lagging in industrial equipment, where people really want to understand the workings and see how durable things are in person. So that's been a really interesting challenge for us over the last 6-7 months in particular. But it's an exciting trend, and it's an exciting evolution in our industry as well. So just, I guess my takeaway message is that there's so much within marketing, and it's probably impossible to know coming out of school exactly which parts you're excited about or passionate about. So, be open-minded and ask questions and try and get exposure to different pieces of it, so you can find the part that really resonates with you and gets you excited.
All right, thank you so much, Ian. That was a very interesting overview of your evolution and what you currently do. And so now, if Sixia is next.
Thank you. And I just want to let you know that typically on Fridays, one of the challenges that we have as marketing professionals is that if you're working from home, you could probably hear lawnmowers going off. So anyway, thank you so much for inviting me to be part of this talk. As Dan said, my name is Sixia Devine. I graduated in 1999. I was a double major, communication studies, Spanish, and a minor in international development. And I was also part of talent development. And I could probably say that my journey up to now has been so eclectic. But what I wanted to share with you just very briefly was the story of my name, because it's very interesting. And I think that it has a lot to do with being in business today and with being able to tell your story. So the story of my name goes like this, because it's really interesting. And Dan was actually struggling to figure out how to pronounce it. So anyway, both of my parents are from a beautiful island, not Rhode Island, which I am physically located in right now, but they are from Dominican Republic. And they decided to come to the United States because my mother could not have any children. So they picked the smallest state in the United States because one of their relatives said that they knew somebody who lived here. So anyway, they ended up coming. And when my mother arrived, one of the main reasons why they came was because, like I said, my mother could not have any children. So, and then she ended up going to Women and Infants Hospital, and there she went through 6 procedures to have me. And for 6 years, she was going through treatment. And then finally, I was born in a year that ends with the number 6. So my grandfather said, who is already in the United States, he said, you know, we have to give this child a name with the number 6. So he wrote the number 6 in English, S-I-X. And then he said, you know, she's been so secret for so long, but she's going to be so intelligent, hopefully, like the Central Intelligence Agency. So they put the number 6 and CIA together and gave me my name. It's a true story. I tell it often because people are like, is that you know, what kind of name is that? And then I always end up sharing my story because it is very interesting. And I happen to have cleared the way for my brother and sister. My brother's name is Abraham and my sister's name is Grace. So they had, you know, a little bit more average sounding names. So back to my journey and how I ended up where I am today. After I graduated the University of Rhode Island, I was going through separation anxiety because I really did love my teachers and my professors. Back then, I don't know if it's still considered this, but it was known as the party school. Like everybody was talking about, oh, URI is a party school. I didn't think so. I came from Providence, the inner city. You know, the music that I listened to was very different. I listened to Spanish music, Dominican, you know, bachata, salsa. And sometimes I could, you know, do a little bit of like Bon Jovi back in the day, right? And so for me, my interest in learning really changed the way I saw education. And so it was very challenging for me socially, just because I really couldn't connect with many people. And so I really made a strong connection with teachers, and which was very different than what I was used to, because coming from the inner city, we had a lot of challenging experiences academically. But being able to understand why they were teaching me the information they were teaching me and how I could take everything that I was learning and all the time that I was taking, how can I use all of that information to find a job? And so that's how I started looking at my education. I ended up joining the debate team because I wanted to understand how to speak with knowledge and with facts. I ended up becoming the president of my debate team, and being able to organize claims and use facts and to share whatever whatever conversation I was having in a very, you know, organized way was important to me, because I knew that if I was able to communicate after I graduated with a potential employer and to share my ideas and to help them in some way, I would then set myself apart from other people. So my very first job after I graduated was I ended up being a special education teacher at Hope High School. And after being a little bit frustrated about the way the educational system was being offered to our students, I decided that I wanted to maybe work in politics and policy. And so I was hired to work as a mayoral aide to the longest standing mayor of Providence, Buddy Cianci. So I ended up working for Buddy Cianci for about 6 months. And after experiencing what politics was, I thought, you know what? I think that from education to politics, now I'm interested in going back to school. So I ended up first getting a job at the Kennedy School of Government at Harvard University. And it was using my communication skills, my marketing skills, because I had to market myself in some way. And I remember that once I ended up getting this job at Harvard, I thought, well, I might as well start to get my my degree, because I don't know if any of you know this, but if you work at a university, you end up getting, you know, a financial cut when you go to school. So then I started to get a master's degree in grant writing. But after doing that for a little while, I thought, you know what, I want to travel. So after working at the Kennedy School, and by the way, while I was there, I did meet some very important people who also taught me a lot about life and about business and how business was run on an international level. So having the opportunity to connect with Kofi and Princess Nora, we had the opportunity to meet with Bill Clinton twice, with major baseball players who created scholarship programs for Dominican students like Pedro Martinez from the Red Sox. So all of these people being part of Harvard and part of the Public Policy Institute gave me the opportunity to listen and to be a fly on the wall, to really understand what was happening on a global scale and how people were coming together to make decisions. And that taught me a lot about business, really. So after doing that, I decided that I wanted to travel. So I ended up going to Paris and I started an MBA program. Once I was there, I didn't finish. I decided that, all right, the academics was important, but I needed to get to work. So on my way back from Paris, I thought, you know what, I think I want to do my own thing. I think I'm going to start my business. And I was 24 years old at the time. And that's when I came up with the idea of starting a business where I could teach people how to speak Spanish during a weekend. And so I came up with Speak Now Spanish. And when I arrived back to Rhode Island, I went to the Center for Women in Enterprise, which was an organization that helped women start and grow businesses. So I went there with the idea of getting assistance and coaching because I knew what I didn't know. And so I needed to connect with others that could help me. So once I arrived there, instead of getting coaching, the executive director, she said, you know, this is very interesting. I love the way you put together your business plan. I was wondering if you could join us and help teach other people how to start and grow businesses. And I was just like, really? I don't know how to do that myself. And she said, well, by teaching others, you're going to teach yourself. And so that right there was a major transition because now I was in front of 20 to 30 business people per day, women who wanted to start and grow businesses. And I was helping them to, one, write their business plan, create their marketing strategy, I mean, on a real level, and then present their business plans in front of bankable institutions, including investors. And by understanding their business models in their business plans, it was such a tremendous experience for me to learn from others. And that's where I got my very, very first step, where I was combining everything that I had learned in school, in education and policy, where I was using all of those skills to really make an impact on these women who had an idea, and they had then putting all of those ideas on paper, but then even better, helping them get financing and start businesses. I did that for about 4 years. Then I was recruited by the Small Business Development Center to run their Small Business Development Center on a broader scale, where I would bring all of these entities together in Rhode Island, where then I would help and teach these people how to get financing. And then after doing that about 7 years, I thought, you know what, it's time for me to start my own consulting business. So currently, where I am at right now, I run Sixia Business Development, which is, it's a small business development and marketing company where we focus on growth markets, mainly Hispanic marketing, but we also work on digital marketing as well. So I have the ability to also speak in Spanish. So one of my major clients is Google. So Google hires me to speak in front of hundreds of small businesses every single day. And when I'm not teaching small businesses about digital marketing and about how to simplify the whole technology process, I also run a nonprofit organization where I bring groups of volunteers to developing countries, mainly Dominican Republic, and we help to rebuild homes for single women We also offer art programs and now technology programs to children within the mountains of Dominican Republic. And we just started offering a mindfulness program. So between working with Google and the nonprofit has really given me the opportunity to do what I love. And one of the questions here is, you know, marketing challenges that we have had since COVID. And so I must say that they have been vast. And one of the things that has been very important to me, and it's been an extremely challenging time, is not being able to work with the communities that we serve, with groups of small businesses on one-on-one, where we could see them and talk to them and at least engage with them one-on-one, but also the communities that we have left in Dominican Republic, where we serve at least 2,000 to 3,000 children within those countries. And because of COVID, there's been certain bans, there's travel bans, and because of safety reasons, we can't be there with them. But we're working through that in a way that, I know that Ian mentioned that his platform was mainly event-based. Our programs are also event-based. So what we've been doing is we've been using technology and this virtual space to really help to engage people in a way that we're offering some kind of inspiration, we're educating them in some way, and we try to make it entertaining in a way that people feel valued and appreciated. Because I don't know, if you're like me, you might find that there's a lot of solo time for you to be in front of a computer and not being able to connect with people one-on-one. So our challenge has been to truly engage people and to understand where they're at and to offer solutions to their problems. So that is my story. I took up extra, so I took a little bit of time that Ian didn't use, and I used it for my story. I hope that was okay with you, Dan and Christine.
Yes, that's absolutely fine.
That is my story, and so I'm not sure if I missed anything.
Okay, thank you so much for sharing that with everybody. That was just a fascinating journey, and I'm sure there'll be some questions afterwards for both of you. All right, Michael is our next speaker.
Yeah, hey, good morning, everybody, and right on cue, and thank you for having me. The landscapers are outside, as Sixia said they would be on a Friday morning. So if you hear the hum and the buzz in the background, I live in New Jersey. I do apologize. So my name is Mike Kurz, and from Ian to Sixia to myself, we're going in the wrong direction here. 09 to 99, I graduated URI Business School in 1991. And I lived in the city for about 18 years, and I moved to New Jersey about 11 years ago. But I still go to Rhode Island often. I actually got married in Rhode Island, in Newport. I still have many friends up in that area. So it was a wonderful experience. All right, it's getting a little lower. Hopefully there's not too much background noise, folks. I appreciate it. So as Ian said, marketing, you don't really know what that means coming out of school. And I think, you know, communications, PR, sales, there's all these different components of what you might do. Marketing led me down a sales path. And currently I'm a managing director at Ernst & Young, which is a Big Four accounting firm. I specialize in advisory, which is my background, which I'll get to in a second. But I started the journey, again, not knowing kind of where I was going to end up in technology and telecom in the 90s. When I came out of school, the job market was not good. Even friends that were going into finance and other things were having difficulty finding jobs. So I was lucky enough, ended up in the telecom world at AT&T, one of the biggest and oldest companies in the world, and really got an understanding early on of the training necessary and the things that come with being in front of customers every day. And literally, I know we can't do this anymore in our current world, but literally knocking on doors sometimes and trying to start conversations with people that you've never met. And you have no idea if they have any interest in speaking to you, and most of them do not. All the way through my current job, which is leading a global team on some of the largest, businesses in the world. So I think you have to I think, go through a couple of iterations early on when you come out of school. You know, as Ian said, there's things you're going to come up against. You know, marketing a hammer, or coming up with 60 said of developing where she was going to be in her niche with her consulting. I think I didn't ever intend to be at a Big Four accounting firm. I worked coming out of telecom. I went from AT&T to Sprint, where I went into a larger account role, if you will, in financial services. Most of my career was covering financial services types accounts. And, you know, that led me again to a different part of the business, understanding a little bit more how I thought how banking worked. And then as that got into the, you know, I was there for 6 or 7 years, and that led into the dot-com era. And I had a very good job and was doing well at Sprint, but like every other genius in 2000, I decided to leave my good job and go to a startup, which did not work out well. It was an amazing experience because I was responsible for running the region, setting up the financial services sector, doing the marketing, doing, you know, training, support, working with the engineering group, the whole 9 yards. It was a natural language processing technology that we were selling. It was based out in Cupertino, California. But that was the very beginning of what now has become artificial intelligence and a bunch of different things. But going from a big company where you had fairly large support on everything, from proposals to, you know, events and everything else, to doing everything myself. So even though the journey didn't lead me where I thought it might, it was an amazing experience to get that different perspective of, you know, startup versus large company, the things that you need to learn how to do to survive in business going forward. So fast forward to the company actually ran out of money and laid us all off. And that was about 2 months before I was supposed to get married. So not good getting married when you have no job. And then a month later, after I got laid off, 9/11 happened. So the world got turned upside down and I didn't have a job. And we got past that, and you go into, I started interviewing different types of companies and what do I want to do? Do I want to stay here? Do I want to go in financial services? What other opportunities could, you know, where would these lead me? And I actually got hired at what was called KPMG Consulting. A lot of folks probably don't remember this, but all the big accounting firms split because of the Enron situation with Arthur Andersen. So meaning the audit companies had to split from advisory to have that Chinese wall between the two. So I was hired at KPMG Consulting, and I had no consulting experience whatsoever. And I was put onto the JP Morgan account, which was amazing, and learned a ton about actually how banking and the system does work. But it's, again, it was a life-changing event from a lot of perspectives. It put me into a situation that has led me probably to where I am now, because this may not make sense or not, but once you're in what was Big 8, Big 6, now Big 4, that environment and that community, you're kind of in. If you're not in, it's very hard to get in. Once you're in, you're in for life. And I was in my early 30s. And again, I had no idea what consulting really was or what that meant and what that was going to lead to. But the opportunity to grow and to do different things and to deal with higher level clients and to sell different types of services and be involved in all these different environments that I had never experienced. And the gentleman that actually hired me, who became a father figure and a mentor and this wonderful person that gave me the chance to get into this company, again, with no experience in this field, led me through a path to just higher level of engagement with clients, higher compensation, higher everything. Getting opportunities to go back and do programs at school and travel. I traveled extensively around the world for that role, and then going and handling JP Morgan, but Goldman Sachs and UBS and some other financial houses along the way. And then led into a little bit of a shift from consulting into software. Worked for a company called SunGard, also in financial services. which was a very different animal, very different experience. And also it led me to cover Citigroup through the financial crisis. So I was at 388 Greenwich the day they broke the buck, meaning their stock went below $1. And people were running out of the building crying and carrying boxes out because they were being fired, and people were losing their minds, generally speaking. So a very different side of the world that you never want to see, but I had gone through. But that job took me yet to another level, to be leading different international groups, to be in a position to help my company buy other companies to pull into our fold, which was an incredible experience in itself. And then that led me back to Ernst & Young, where I've been, and that financial service experience, I was never a deep private equity person, but SunGard was owned by a private equity consortium, and that allowed me to start a role covering Warburg Pincus in private equity when I got to EY. And again, getting to do a lot of different things, handling a lot of the portfolio companies, which you always think of this private equity, big companies managing all this money. Warburg had 180 portfolio companies that they managed in different sectors around the world. So I got to go see tech companies, healthcare companies, oil companies up in Canada and down in Houston, and do all these wonderful different things. So, you know, today with COVID, obviously a very different environment and situation. I think most of the noise has died down. I'm sorry for the background noise again. You know, I think as Sixty said, learning how to do what we do in the COVID world, my biggest client right now is actually not in financial services, in the tech, media, and telecom sector. And the entire C-suite has turned over. So there's new CEO, CTO, CFO, there's new board members, there's new business unit heads. So trying not only to develop relationships remotely, but to sell to them millions of dollars worth of consulting and other things that we do for them. We do M&A work, we do tax work, we do all kinds of structuring, legal, other things. It's an incredibly challenging, exciting, difficult thing, but I think at the end of the day, it's about relationships, and it's about getting people to be comfortable and kind of get into the boat with you about what you're all about and how you conduct your business. So I'm probably almost at time, but there's a lot of different pieces in there that I could go into, but I think back to something that Ian said, you never know where this is going to lead you, and you don't know how this is going to impact your life or what marketing, sales, or other means. But the trajectory that I'm on and where I am currently, not in a million years would I have, you know, kind of counted on that coming out of school in the early 90s from Rhode Island. So I would say be flexible, be versatile, and always be open to new things that, you know, sometimes you don't know where they're going to lead you. That's it, Dan.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mike. Again, a very, all three of you have had very, very interesting journeys, really representative in many ways of the kind of more nebulous nature of marketing and all the kind of different tendrils that marketing has. All right, and we have Marielle as our next speaker.
Good morning, everyone. Thanks, Dan and Christine. Appreciate being here with everyone. I wanted to just comment that it's so great that there's so many participants, because normally when we have these panels, there's not as many. So it's really a plus side of COVID, I guess. But it's really nice to speak with you all this morning. So I graduated from URI in 2012 with a marketing degree, and then I decided to stay and get my MBA purely because I just wanted to. So if you ever have that inkling, then just do it, because that's something that I just always really wanted to do. So I stayed and finished that in 2014. And then honestly, the worst thing happened, not really the worst thing, but I hated my first job out of school. Absolutely hated it. So that was kind of one of those things where you never want that to happen, right? But it happened to me, and I started this job, and I didn't like anything about it. I wasn't learning anything. And I really was not sure of what to do. So if you ever find yourself in that situation, it's okay. But for me, So, you know, I had to take a step back. I'm like, what do I do? So I really worked on my network, and a friend of a friend met someone at the gym. I mean, these things happen, especially in Rhode Island. But so I actually got an interview at the company that I'm currently at. So this is like 5.5 years ago. And it ended up being like a really great experience just in general to have that sort of lost moment where you really don't know what you want or what to do, and you didn't like where you were. So I think that's happened to probably everyone. For me, I thought it was the end of the world because I just really didn't like what I was doing. So if you've never heard of customer success as an option for jobs, I had no idea what that was, but that was my first real experience at this company. It was a customer success analyst. So if I didn't know what it was, which is really similar to everyone else's stories on the panels. You don't know what you're getting into sometimes, and that's a really good thing. But now that I know more about the field of customer success, there's tons of jobs actually, especially in Boston. But what that does, it's really client relationship management and a whole host of other things. So I just encourage you to look that up because, again, I didn't know what it was. But I started as a customer success analyst working for, it's a software company, and we are servicing and providing solutions to some of the largest consumer packaged goods and retailers globally. And so we actually had a really interesting front seat with COVID. If you've ever heard of Kimberly-Clark, they make paper towels and toilet paper. So we really actually in the data saw the plummet earlier this spring. We did have some local stores in our solution database, so we were actually able to see when they were out of stock or not. So it was actually pretty fun. But anyway, so that is what this company does. So we're global, which is really interesting because it's small, it's maybe only like 500 people, but to really have, you know, coworkers in the UK and in China and across the world and even across the United States is a really interesting experience if you're looking for something that kind of feels small, but also has a global reach. That was a really great experience for me as well. Been lucky enough to kind of get through, so customer success is not really a segment of marketing. I suppose it could be if you thought about it that way, but I've had three roles total at this company. So I'm currently working in product marketing. So what product marketing does is what we're aimed at anyway, is trying to sell our solutions. And we do that by creating storytelling, essentially, of why our clients would want to purchase the solutions that we have. So there's a lot that goes into it. Like I said, I didn't start in product marketing, but throughout my prior roles, I actually had some really good relationships with kind of upper management, and they're like, hey, you're pretty good at, you know, it's funny, you never think of certain skills that you're like, oh, you're really good at that. I love doing PowerPoints. It could be like the worst thing for some people that they absolutely hate doing PowerPoints. I love them. And much more so than making them interesting. I'm sure everyone has all been, you know, to a presentation or maybe even a class, and it's just all you see are words in the text on the slide, and you're just like, I can't understand this. So what my purpose is, and what I was just naturally inclined to, is really creating interesting slide designs and creating the story. Like I said before, the storytelling component of solution selling, which is an aspect of marketing, is something that I didn't really know was a skill, and I was just thought that this is what I was supposed to do. Apparently not. So that is a really interesting thing. Again, I like never really, you know, you don't learn that in class, and you don't, you know, I never really thought that it was something that you would actually do in your day-to-day. But some days I design PowerPoints, and that's like what I do, and it's pretty fun. So I get to be creative, working with content management, and also we have a graphic designer that helps us, and we do web development and making sure that all of our solutions tell the proper story, whether that's through our collateral on the website and really anywhere. So we don't have as large of a digital presence because of the way that our contracts work with our customers. So it's not, you wouldn't see a whole lot of social media marketing there. But yeah, it's really interesting to get an experience that I just never really thought I had. And really someone was like, hey, you should probably just do this. So I think an important thing to sort of learn from that is just keep trying new things, and sometimes the things that you might be really good at, I've been fortunate enough to have some mentors at this company that they actually sit you down and say, what do you really like to do? What do you like to do at work? What's something that's fun for you? What makes you excited? What makes you want to show up every day? And I was fortunate enough to have someone say, you know what, like, here's a role that we think you'd be really good at, and to go explore that. Another thing I would say is really that has helped me is to just really be open to learning new things, and trying to get involved in projects that they might seem a little intimidating at first, but is to really just put your hat in the ring and see if you can, succeed at something, or have the help, and really ask for help if you want it. But I actually, when I got hired at this company, there is this large project going on that I kind of got thrown into, and I was definitely, a little over my head at first. And as time went on, you become immersed in what you're doing, and you can really, then people turn to you and start to say, oh, okay, like, we have questions on this. And that's a really kind of rewarding experience too, because you'll start at something and really not know what you're doing. And then once you get through it, it's really fun to sort of see your own personal growth that way. But yeah, so I think, just being open. If you can ever, especially at, it's a little tough now during COVID, but I loved attending conferences. If that's an option for you, even if they're virtual now, I think it'd be really awesome. I went to a conference last fall in Boston, and it was related to kind of the field or the industry that we were in with software and customer success. And at the time when I wasn't in marketing yet, but that was a really great experience because you got to see people that had similar journeys. It's very similar to what we're doing today, actually, but you could see people that started in customer success and went to product management, kind of like where Ian is, or you could see people have the opposite path. They start somewhere and then they come to customer success, or, it's really kind of eye-opening to really understand how people get to where they are, and no path is linear. And so it's been a really fun experience. And I would also say too, sometimes when you're looking for what you want to do next and you have no idea, like most of us here, I would either look at industry or at, companies that you find interesting, and really just go down that rabbit hole, because I really, again, had no idea where I would end up. But now that I'm here, then you can start to say, oh, okay, this is what I really like to do. This is what interests me every day. And then you'll find that kind of new path if you choose it. So yes, that is my brief overview, Dan. I don't want to take up too much more time because I'd love to hear everyone's questions if you have any.
All right, thank you. Thank you very much, Marielle. Yet another very interesting journey. Clearly, none of our four speakers have started with one company at age 21, 22 and stayed with that company for forever and ever. And so I think it's a very remarkable set of journeys and experiences, and representatives here from some very large companies, representatives here from very small companies and their own companies. So it's a really remarkable diversity of speakers that we have, and their journeys were really, really interesting. All right, questions for any one or two, three, or four of our speakers?
I actually had a question.
Okay, go ahead.
My name is Elena, and I wanted to just ask, I'm in school right now and I'm not really working, especially because of COVID, but I wanted to know, not for anybody specific, just anybody who can answer, like any tips, like of things I could do to get experience for now, like in marketing.
So, hi there. Thank you, Alana. I love your name. So one of the things that I would suggest for you to do is perhaps see if you can find an internship. One of the things that we do for our nonprofit organization and also for my private company is we bring on college students and we give them specific tasks for them to do where they're not only helping us, but we're also teaching them. So I would suggest for you to outline of perhaps whatever thing you want to get into and share that with your network. I know that there's different platforms that you can go to. LinkedIn is a great first start. I also believe that the URI Career Center also has different platforms that you can get access to. The other thing is I think that, you know, being able for you to attend something like this, Marielle said, conferences. So we are all four of us, we're graduates. I think that you should really take the opportunity to figure out who in your area of expertise has graduated URI, where you can perhaps send them an email and ask them whether or not they're interested in bringing on an intern. So leverage your network. But I think that even before you do that, figure out, okay, well, what is my purpose? Because once you figure that out, then you're able to put all the content down on paper and create an internship description. And then while you're doing that, you know, as you start to research, you could say, you know what, I'm really interested in learning something within this area. Like Marielle said, you know, there's, you know, something called client success or customer success. If that's something you want to learn, put it down. And then if you do end up getting an internship, one of my major suggestions is always ask yourself, how can I be of value? How can I help this company and organization? Because that's going to set you apart. At the end of the day, it's not going to be about Alana the person or 60 the person, but it's truly what you could do to help that organization, that company move forward. That's going to help you learn on so many levels. So that would be my suggestion for you.
I'd also say too, if you have a skill that you want to learn, that's actually something I did this past year because, I mean, we were at home and doing stuff. So I actually picked up Photoshop because I had a license for work, which was kind of a perk, but one of my friends needed help designing a logo and didn't really have anyone that she knew of. And I was like, no, I can do it. So I don't know. I did not know how to do it. So I watched a lot of YouTube videos, but having a really hard skill that you could put on your resume, I think is so important too. And it'll set you apart. And it's kind of, you know, it's inarguable as well. If you can say that I can do this with this product or whatever it is, I think that's a really great thing as a resume builder as well.
Yeah, I was going to jump in there and add on to what you both just said, that, you know, the biggest indicator of future performance for somebody who's looking to hire is past performance. And I know it can be difficult to express experiences when you're coming out of school and you may not have had a lot of opportunities to get them. So that's kind of your challenge, is to find relatable experiences to the job that you're looking for. But with that, I'll offer up that for myself, and I would expect the other three panelists and probably all of the panelists from all the different meetings today, we have this irrational desire to help people who went to the same university as us. There's really no logical reason for it, but we all have it. So you shouldn't be afraid to ask. We probably can't just give you jobs, but we would love to help you help yourselves, right? So if you want to reach out and you want to ask for some guidance or some connectivity, some networking support, whatever it may be, if you have a plan or you have a specific desire or you have a specific ask, I'm sure that we would all be happy to try and open some doors for you.
Yeah, this is Mike. Ian, I couldn't agree more. And it is maybe irrational or whatever it is, but that desire to help and to always assist in any way, shape, or form definitely is there. Whether that's through the school or it could be through anything. But the other thing I would say is and I'm very fortunate in the leadership role that I have, that I see a lot of the things. Ernst & Young is a very large company that does a lot of different things in a lot of different parts of the world. But there are so many groups, networks, events, and associations out there that you would never know exist, whether it's tech focused, women focused, diversity inclusive and focused. I would, go through LinkedIn and other things like Sixia said to see what is out there. And if there's something, in customer success or in industrial or in consulting or advisory or EY, if you see something you like, please reach out. And again, can't promise you a job, but can definitely offer assistance, because I think that the network part of this and the people part of this as you go through your career is the biggest part of this. It's you never know where you're going to meet people, how you're going to interact, whether you're going to see them again 10 years later. Always keep those relationships open and current if you can, because they come out of the blue, and sometimes good, sometimes bad. But it's always nice to keep that kind of that environment around you where you're open and people know they can get to you. I can't tell you over the past 30 years how many people I've helped get jobs or get introduced to get a job. Whether I helped or not, I don't know, but because I know someone that does something, I said, hey, you should give this guy a call. And that means a lot to people. Coming in with a referral from Ian or myself or someone versus, cold calling or just putting your resume online, it makes a big difference. Sorry, Dan. That's it.
Thank you so much for answering my question.
All right, the next question for our speakers.
Yes, hi, I have a question.
Okay, Crystal, go ahead.
Okay, my name is Crystal, as you can see. I'm actually a junior talent development scholar here at the University of Rhode Island. My question is, I loved everyone's story. I think it was very fascinating to hear stories like these. But my question here today is, especially around uncertain times like this with COVID and all, what's one way to stay motivated around times like these? Anyone can answer.
Probably folks that are younger than me have better ideas, but I would say the motivation, and I still, as I said, trying to keep connected to my team and my clients. I would say if you can get people physically out to have lunch outside or to meet somewhere or to do something, that's probably the best. But having a formal or informal Zoom call, happy hour connection somehow around a topic or a group, be creative and set things up. This is the first time ever that not only am I dealing with clients that I don't know, but I have a team of people delivering to them that I'm with on the phone morning, noon, and night. And I've never met these people in person either, which is really weird. Sounds like it shouldn't be a big deal, but it's a big deal, because the way you get good at what you do and we do well for our clients is because you trust the people you're sitting next to and you know their strengths and you know how they interact. I would say just get out there and do different things. And it doesn't have to be anything job related. It doesn't have to be, it could be something that you've never tried before. I would just get out and try different things and try to get out of your routine. I know that I'm sitting in front of this screen 12 hours a day is brutal. I try to play a lot of golf because it's the only place I feel normal during COVID, honestly. And that just makes me feel better. My wife just started taking kickboxing classes and I was like, what are you doing that for? And she's like, I don't know, but I'm going to go give it a shot and feel good to just get some energy out and not have the kids and the dogs and everybody and behind us doing their thing. So whatever makes you feel good, get out there and try something new. Because I think it's not just about motivation, but it's about keeping your brain kind of clear and fresh and getting away from the computer, putting your phone down, go trying something else that you might not have normally done.
Yeah, I'm going to jump in. That's great, Mike. Thank you for sharing that. I'd probably say that for me, it's been very, very challenging because I out there, and I was living in the airport before COVID hit. I was traveling all around the United States and Puerto Rico and in Dominican Republic. And then when all this hit, it was like I was, you know, it was hard for me to acknowledge the fact that, wow, I have to stay in. And my whole life just became in front of the computer. And if you are experiencing loneliness or being unmotivated, just know that you are not alone. And I always like to reflect on the following. Somebody out there in the world is worse off than where we are right now. So I think it's important for us to acknowledge that, number one. But number two, it's asking yourself, how can I help somebody? And there are different creative things you could do, like writing a letter. How many people write a letter? Reaching out to different community centers and see how you can be of benefit. The other thing is taking a break from social. I mean, there's just so much noise out there and so much negative information. It could become overwhelming. And it's actually a thing where people are becoming so overwhelmed on everything that's happening negatively. Taking a break from that, you know, and using exercise. You have to get out there, you have to work on your brain, you know, get some oxygen, especially now. I'm in Rhode Island. It's still not that cold. I've taken up hiking and just being able to, you know, to remind myself that, hey, somebody else has it worse off than I am. How can I help? And let me just get out there, start moving, you know, ride a bike, or if you don't have a bike, get a bike, borrow a friend's bike, but certainly get out there and writing, write a letter. Email is good, but I just feel like the art of, you know, taking a pen to paper and writing to somebody, I think that, you know, that's refreshing.
I've got two thoughts on this question. The first is purpose. You got to know whatever your purpose is. Everybody's driven for something different, and your purpose can change over time, right? So your purpose right now might be that you just really want to get experience. You want to do something different. You're tired of being in college because you've been in college for a while and you've been in school your whole life, and your purpose is to go out and work and try, you know, build your experience pool. Great. Your purpose might be around something that you're really passionate about. I heard so much purpose, especially in Sixia's opening presentation and everything that's driven you for your career to this point. And so that's ultimately the thing that's going to keep you going, right? If you don't have a why, it's going to be hard. It's going to be hard to get through this, and people are struggling with that. So find a good why for you. Know that it's not a permanent decision, but find something that can keep you going. And then the other one I wanted to say is just to kind of flip it around on you all and just point out that one of the biggest assets that you have coming into the workforce right now is your energy. Because you're fresh, you're enthusiastic, you're just getting started. You've got, your knowledge is fresh, right? Your education is fresh. Those of us who haven't been in school in a while, we're not as up to date. I don't know how else to say it. Like, you know, you've got a lot going for you there, and that can supplement or help to augment maybe a lack of on paper experience. You can bring energy that, you know, somebody who's been sitting in Zoom meetings for the whole year, you know, doing their corporate job or whatever it may be, is tired. You know, people are tired, people are moving slow, people are struggling with motivation. That's a very on point question that you asked, and you can bring a shot of energy to a group of people, and that's a huge asset. So you should leverage that and capitalize on that.
Excellent. All right. Well, we unfortunately are right at the end of our time. So if I could just ask everyone for 2 seconds to unmute yourself and give a hand to our 4 tremendous speakers.
Thank you.
Thank you
so much for your time.
I wasn't quite sure how that was
Thank
going.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
folks.
so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Good
If
day.
anybody needs
Question
help
for
or
Mr.
any assistance with anything or further questions, guys, reach out.
Yeah,
please.
I actually have a question, Mr. Kurz.
Yeah.
I'm from the Morris County area in New Jersey,
Yeah.
and I've been a caddy my whole life, so I feel like reaching out to you would be something really cool. How would I find your email or your contact info?
I think my information from LinkedIn is on there. I live in Westfield, so not too far from you.
Yeah, I see that.
Yes, it's mkurz1@gmail.com.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
You got it. You got it. I'm playing this weekend. I can't wait.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, and
Thanks, Dan.
all right, and for for Marielle and Sixia and Mike and Ian, thank you so much on behalf of the college for taking your time and sharing your really fascinating journeys with everyone. And I think it was a tremendously eye-opening experience for our students. So thank you so much for your time.
That was a pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Thank you,
Thanks, everyone.
everybody.
Take care.
Bye. Take care, everybody. Stay safe.
Thanks so much.